afternoon. You're listening to the Inspirational Parent right here on your hometown station, KHTS. I'm your host, Jasmine Urbina, here in the studio today with my dad and co-host, Alex Urbina. Hi, Dad.
Hey, how's it going?
Today, we're going to be talking about relationships, my favorite topic to talk about with my dad.
Why is that?
It was sarcastic, Dad.
Oh, okay.
But you said we're talking about relationships, and I feel like it's a very general topic. So what are we going to be focusing on specifically?
I want to focus more on reminding, people and myself that relationships are created for us to figure out who we are. It's relationships is a game designed for me to know who I am. Like, I can't know myself to be forgiving or caring or compassionate if I don't have other people in my life that I've engaged in relationships to be caring for, or people in my life in relationships that have wronged me such that I can actually forgive them. We got to remember that relationships aren't designed for us to try to get something out of them. They're there for us to mirror ourselves, to figure out who we are in each new moment. So a lot of times I think, when we engage in relationships, whether it's falling in love with somebody for the first time, we look at all the qualities that they have that we don't have, and we're excited because it's like, oh, you're the part of me that I don't know how to access yet, or I'm not good at that yet. So my half and your half, we become one. We're a complete person together, and I think that's an error. We enter in relationships in error. Instead of looking at getting into a relationship because somebody completes us, we should be looking more at getting into relationships to share our completeness with each other.
Well, kind of going a little bit back to how you were saying that when we enter into relationships, we are able to find ourselves and find out who we really are. And a little part of that kind of goes against all of the stuff that I've been taught, all the stuff that, we've kind of agreed on, that, you don't enter into relationships to get things out of people or to fill a hole or to, like you said, complete each other. It's more for, I guess, us to see those, sometimes it could be the worst or the best, but from my own example, sometimes I see the worst in myself come out when I'm in a relationship versus like if I'm in relationships with my brother, my sister, my mom, because I've already created this relationship that I guess I'm blind to seeing who I really am in. But when you're with someone that you care about and you don't want them to know anything bad about you, especially in the beginning, you either don't show that or you try to act like that isn't you, and then sooner or later, like, that part comes out.
Yeah, I think that if you look at relationships as an opportunity that's what I look at them as. They're opportunities. So then I gotta ask myself, what's the opportunity that I'm looking for? I'm looking for a relationship between you and I to be an opportunity to figure out who I am in this moment. Not who I was yesterday, not who I was 2 years ago, but in this moment right now here with you, there's a brand new opportunity that I have in this co-partnership or this relationship that we've created to figure out who I want to be right now in this moment. If I choose to be connected with you, I choose to be engaging. If I choose to be interested, I can choose to be compassionate or caring, or honest or forthright. I have a number of multiple opportunities to figure out who I want to become right now here with you, engaged in this relationship, rather than thinking that the relationship is for me to try to figure out how to fix you or have you or convince you to live your life the way that I need you to live it so I feel better about myself, or like all these other alternative motives is not what relationships are about. It's just an opportunity for me to figure out who I am.
So, but how does it naturally become that? Because I feel like when you first meet someone, you're like, oh, this person's amazing. I can't wait to see where this goes. And, you fall into it. And then 2 years later or however long later, you start saying, this is great about you, but this would be better if
Yeah.
we just did this. So
Yeah.
how does it get to that
Well,
point?
I think it starts off like that because we're not taught about relationships. When you were a little kid, your parents didn't sit you down and say, okay, let me explain to you what a relationship is.
Yeah, but someone did teach us eventually what it was like, and it was the movies, and it was the Notebook, and you die for this person, and everything's perfect. And so because our parents aren't teaching us, we still learn it.
That's right. We try to figure out what relationships mean to us based on whoever's going to decide to paint a picture about relationships. So if it's Hollywood, they're going to make millions of dollars based on figuring out how to paint this beautiful picture about relationships where you would, give up your life for the person that you love the most, or you would, turn yourself inside and out to try to find somebody that can finally complete you as a human being, and all these crazy anecdotes about what relationships mean to the producers, such that they hook you to come in and watch their movie and fall in love with the characters. But if no one sits down and actually, if you don't have a wise person in your family, if you don't have a grandparent or, a family member that can come in and just sit down and explain to you what relationships are at an early age, and it doesn't go, that teaching doesn't go on from generation to generation. Like you said, we just figure it out. We make up our own story about what a relationship is really for. And when we're unhealthy as human beings, we start looking for relationships to figure out how to soothe my pain. If I'm with you, you make me laugh. So I'm attracted to you because you give me something that fulfills me. And we don't realize that fulfillment is something that just generated from within yourself. But we look for external things to fulfill us, and we don't realize that those are temporary they're temporary feelings that end up fading away. As soon as that person stops being funny, your experience in the relationship is not very good.
Yeah, I feel like when you first meet somebody, everyone's trying extra. Everyone's trying to be the best version of themselves all the time in those moments. And as time goes on, you realize you can't keep up this. You can't keep up being happy
The
yeah,
facade, we'll
you can't.
call it.
Even though you are happy and you are funny and you are all these things, you can't do them all the time. People just can't do it. So
It's the
and
it's the honeymoon phase, we'll call it.
yeah, so once you get out of that and you fall into, I mean, I don't really know, but like you eventually are gonna fall into like I can't stand this person, and you hear all these like, especially with my friends, they're like, oh, everything he says, I just want to punch him in the face. People get frustrated, or I'm talking about Andrew. But people just get too much personality, I think, and it's not like what they had originally thought it was. And because Hollywood only shows you that part, they don't ever really show you the part where other people struggle, and how love is a choice, and they don't teach you all that. They just show you all the fun, good stuff. So if you're growing up and you don't see any of that, and your parents aren't your influencers or an example, then that's all you know, and that's like all you're going to keep chasing. So when it gets hard, you're going to run and find a new relationship to start all over with, so you can always be in that honeymoon phase.
Yeah. And then sometimes if you're not taught about relationships distinctively or directly, you're learning them indirectly. And a lot of times we're learning about relationships just by watching our parents. So when you're a little kid, you're looking up and you're watching mom and dad interact with each other, and you're going, that's what a relationship looks like. Now, the sad thing about that is a lot of us, if I asked us or took a poll and said, how many of you have parents that were great examples of really healthy relationships, it would probably be maybe 4 out of 10 would raise their hand that their parents were in really healthy relationships. And that's just a starting point, because even in the people that would raise their hands that they had parents that had healthy relationships, there's still a whole nother 10 levels of what extraordinary relationships really look like. But we would default by watching our parents interact with each other and go, oh, that's what a relationship looks like. So if you're watching your dad and your mom that are arguing, and you see them constantly in arguments or constantly in disagreements, then you're going to easily make up a belief that, well, that's what a relationship looks like. We banter back and forth. And it's funny because sometimes I'll work with couples, and it'll take 1 or 2 sessions for a couple to be able to, one of them to realize that, wow, this is how I've decided relationships are, because in my home growing up, I used to watch my mom and dad argue all the time. So it's almost like our relationship isn't healthy if we're not having some kind of banter going back and forth. And it's just eye-opening to see how we're conditioned unconsciously in our relationships just by watching and observing and then making up our own stories.
It's very weird that today this is our topic, because I have a perfect example of me watching my parents and also mirroring that same, I guess, energy or attitude in my relationship. And it just is crazy to me. But I'm going to go ahead and explain the story. So Yesterday I was reading a magazine. There was an article that said it was kind of like why couples don't end up making it in the long run. And one of the main things was because they bickered back and forth about things that are just perception. So the article went into saying that if you are late to, let's say, this was the example. If you're late to a party, you'll tell him, "Oh, we're late because you don't care about hanging out with my friends." But when you arrive on time, it's not because he took the time to make sure we got there so you can hang out with your friends. It's just because it happened to be on time. So I thought, I was like, "Wow, that's me." I'm going to tell myself that's me. I do that sometimes. And then you come home and you buy mom a pillow, a new pillow, right? So she goes, what, like, there's no reason, there's no way you just bought me a new pillow. You probably bought yourself a pillow and then also said, "Oh, I have to buy her one too." And you're like, "Yeah, but I bought you a pillow." So to me it was kind of
And it
like,
was funny because it was actually the opposite. I had some time to burn, and I was remembering that your mom couldn't find her pillow. She had this little small pillow for the last week or two. So I was like, I'm just going to go and get her a new pillow because I've been watching those pillow commercials. That the My Pillow is that new one that everyone's talking about. So I went with the intention to buy her a pillow. Then when I got her the pillow and I looked at the price, I was like, well, maybe I should get me one too. So it was actually the opposite. But it's par for the course to come home and hear the spin on it that, oh, you probably got yourself one too. And it was kind of like, yeah, I did get myself
yeah,
one.
but not in the way that you think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I was watching that, I was inclined to kind of take my mom's side because, and I did in the beginning because that's so me. I'm very like, if like, what does this come with? Why did you do this? Because I know
Why'd you buy me
and
a pillow?
yeah. So I'm very much like that too. So to see that happen and then kind of towards the middle of your guys' bickering. I mean, it wasn't bad. We were all laughing about it, but in the middle of it, I remember that I had read that article like 2 hours earlier, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I do this probably because my mom does it, or I do it because my dad does it." So I picked that skill up where, or not a skill, I picked up that bad habit of kind of not really acknowledging and saying thank you for this, or thanks for making it on time, thanks for the pillow. I'm more inclined to jump to the negative side
Yeah, you
first.
got to remember, as human beings, we're story makers. And so what we do is we make up stories, and we've made up stories from the past. So here's an example. If you grew up not ever being taken care of, or people don't really generally do things for you, you can easily make up a belief or a limiting belief about yourself or other people, or even about your own self-worth, that you're not deserving of things because you've never gotten them before. So if all of a sudden somebody looks over and notices that you're in need of something and you haven't said anything, and out of the kindness of their own heart they bring you something, the very first thing you think of is what? As soon as you get that gift, you're thinking to yourself, what?
Why?
What? What? What?
What do
What?
they want?
What? Well, yeah, you can start thinking. I think the first thing you would think is, what did I do to deserve something like this? Because if you're thinking from the belief of I'm undeserving or I'm unworthy, now you're questioning what the motives are of somebody getting you a gift. Now all the stories come up. Wow, you probably got me this because, or, oh, now all of a sudden you want to, and you can literally come up with 1,000 different stories about the gift rather than the simple story of, thank you for buying me this. It means a lot to me. Or, hey, thank you. I appreciate you. Instead of stopping and being neutral and perceiving the act for what it was, and not putting all of your own negative connotations from your past and all of your attaching your negative beliefs and your fears and your insecurities onto it. Because when you do that, all you're doing is you're muddying the waters. And then you're turning people off, the ones that really want to contribute to you and want to give to you. What at a certain point, what are they going to say? It's not even worth it anymore to give you things because you don't either, one, appreciate them, right? And then now we start making up stories. So it's crazy how we can easily make up these stories, and all those stories get in the way of creating healthy relationships with each other.
Well, I heard the other day, Tori, she's our morning DJ, she was talking to Kyle, the station manager, and they're going back and forth about gift giving. And she says the number one, like statistically, the way to get something from someone is to beforehand give them something. So that way, later when you need to cash in on that favor, they feel like they owe you. And I was like, I feel like people do that, but they don't say it, Tori. Like, so she was kind of like, just basically saying what everybody kind of does. And so a couple, maybe like 2 days later, she left a little chocolate bar on my desk. So come into the studio and I go, what do you want? She's like, I just saw this little chocolate bar and I thought it was cute and I wanted to get you one. And I was like, all right. But I feel like in a couple days, there's going to be something behind it. I think none of us really feel like we're really that deserving of even a chocolate bar. Like, if that makes sense. Like, this kind of.
Well, yeah, if it comes back with what do you want, or a lot of times, like, and even in our relationship, sometimes I'll do something for you, or I'll text you, or I'll call you, and you go, what do you need? Right? It automatically comes with, if there's something out of routine from the norm, it's because somebody wants something. Or even if I come over and I'm like being all loving with you, or like, it's kind of like you push me back and go like, what do you need? Like it's an automatic response of somebody needing something from you, rather than just that. It could just be affection. It could just be someone missing you, or someone just wanting to connect with you. It just goes back to how we make up stories. And in those stories that we make up, it clouds this unlimited amount of possibilities that can create extraordinary relationships, that we're really tainting our relationships with bringing our past into the present moment.
I also can kind of see, because I do that all the time. I'm the first one to say, "What do you want?" And I can kind of see how, if someone is coming in a vulnerable space to just feel that connection or want a connection, if right off the bat I say, "What do you want?" all of a sudden they're defensive. Like, it's easy to get defensive and say, "Well, I don't want anything from you," and then leave and be upset when. So basically, I'm tainting this moment that could have been really great and could have been like a really good opportunity to connect.
Yeah, you brought up a great point that I want to really talk about, and that's taking and receiving. So when somebody's being a giver and they're giving to you, you can be taking it and you can be receiving it. And there's two different distinctions. When you're taking something, you're taking it from more like a manipulative place. When you're receiving it, you're receiving it because whatever goodness you've put out and whatever giving you've been giving, it automatically on its own runs its course in a healthy way, and then it comes back to you, and then it's a receiving. Rather than I'm going to give with the intention to expect something back. When you're operating from that place, then you become a taker. So you got to remember, you have to be willing to give into a relationship and give unconditionally, whether you get something back or not. You have to be unattached to saying, I'm going to give so much in all of my relationships, I expect absolutely zero back. When you can operate from that place, you are blessed abundantly with so many gifts, and you will be the recipient. You will be able to receive so many more blessings coming back to you because you're unattached to whatever it is that you were expecting from whatever it is that you were giving.
Yeah, and I kind of now putting it into perspective now in that way, distinguishing taking and receiving, I can kind of see how there's a lot of things that I just take just to take it, or sometimes people will offer me something, or and I don't necessarily really want it. I take it more out of a respect thing. You go to your grandma's house and you're not hungry, but she offers you a bunch of cookies, and you're like, "No, I'm on a diet. I can't have these cookies." But
that's receiving.
Okay.
In that moment, you're receiving because somebody is giving you something. I'll never forget this thing that I learned when I was in my early 20s. It was brought to my attention by a mentor of mine. And I always thought myself as a giver. And I was giving. And one time, my mentor, he wanted to give something back to me. And so he was really excited, and he made a big deal about it. And he's like, "Man, I want to present this to you." And he gave it to me. And I remember feeling bad that he was giving it to me. And I said, "No, it's okay. I don't need this." And he all of a sudden got really quiet. And the look on his face, I will never forget it, because I felt like this weird feeling that he was projecting onto me. And I go, "What?" And he goes, he goes, "As much as you think you're a giver," he goes, "you're a taker." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're now taking the opportunity for me to be a giver to you." He goes, "So as much as you can give to other people, you have to learn how to receive. And if you don't learn how to receive, you become now a taker. You take away opportunities for others to learn how to be givers to you." And that's the premise of relationships. You don't know who you are until you have somebody to give to, such that you can call yourself a giver. You need people in your life to have wronged you, such that you can offer forgiveness, to know yourself as a forgiving human being. We have to have relationships to be able to mirror the opportunities for us to know who we are through our choices and our behaviors.
Yeah, I like that you said having a mirror, because I was thinking that earlier when you were talking about, learning that relationships are designed to realize who you are. I can kind of see, even if it's something little like words I use, they start using them, or vice versa. But there's bigger things that, right off the bat, I'm just an attitude person. So if I'm having a bad day, I project it onto other people. I know that about myself, and, one of my qualities that I want to work on and everything. But I can also see how one day, eventually, that's going to be mirrored back to me, either through my daughter, my sister, my significant other, whatever. It's going to come back to me, and I'm going to really regret it.
That's why it's important for you to figure out how to fine tune it now, such that you course correct it and stop the flow of that energy, such that it doesn't come back and bombard you for the rest of your life. You want to start learning that lesson now, which is cool because you're young enough now to start course correcting it, and you can learn it.
Yeah, and it kind of just reminds me of all the times when I was even younger and I had even more of an attitude. And my mom would say, one day you're going to have a daughter and you're going to see. It was like a really common thing to say. But we had to take a quick break, so stay tuned for more of The Inspirational Parent right here on your hometown station, KHTS.
Santa Clarita, bedbugs are taking over our city. They've invaded our homes, our businesses, and most importantly, our sleep. If you have suspicious bites that appear nightly, or have a bug that you need ID'd, your best option is to make one call to All Pro. We offer a 100% guarantee that your bedbug issues will be solved with heat in one treatment. No need to tent or spray your house with chemicals. Heat is all you need. Call 661-298-2200 or text me a bug picture to 661-645-0540. It's time to sleep tight again, SCV.
Well, we hope you joined the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on AM 1220 KHTS, or live at donandgino.com, where we're going to share some great information thanks to Cindy Risson, our newest rock star at Skyline Home Loans.
That's right. We're going to give you tips to succeed in refinances, purchase, some special tips for those home buyers that are veterans that haven't been able to get into a home, and most importantly, how to get your offer accepted in a tight inventory market. This Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Little Eye Leaders is the newest preschool in the Santa Clarita Valley. At Little Eye Leaders, our outstanding teachers lead with intellect, perspective, and heart. That means our programs provide a warm, nurturing atmosphere to meet the unique needs of each child. We believe that play is a powerful form of learning for young children. That's why our kids have every opportunity to learn through the magic and excitement of play. Parents, schedule a tour today by calling 303-0400 or online at littleeyeleaders.org.
The City of Santa Clarita invites residents to a celebration of life for former Mayor Joanne Darcy. The event will be on Sunday, November 12th, 2 p.m. at the Newhall Family Theater at Newhall Elementary School. Joanne was one of the founding members of our proud City of Santa Clarita. She will be fondly remembered as a pivotal member of the City Formation Committee, a former councilwoman, four-time mayor, and someone who made so many vital contributions to the City of Santa Clarita.
There is only one language spoken at Thai Dish, and it sounds something like this.
This is great.
Once people get a taste of Thai dishes, there's really no reason to do any more talking. Make it full of flavor, make it delicious, only at Thai Dishes. Enjoy the atmosphere, love the food. Thai Dishes on Valencia Boulevard for free delivery, 253-FOOD. That's 253 FOOD.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign, next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Join Santa Clarita Transit on Saturday, November 11th for a patriotic ride to Knott's Berry Farm. The one-day round-trip service coincides with Knott's Berry Farm's annual Military Tribute Days, offering free park admission to all retired or active U.S. military, plus one guest. This Santa Clarita Transit excursion to Knott's Berry Farm is available for everyone for just $3 each way. New this year, buy your tickets using the Token Transit mobile app. Details at santaclaritatransit.com.
Your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Inspirational Parent right here on your hometown station, KHTS. Today we're talking about relationships. Now, Dad, I kind of want to go back to what we were talking about earlier about being givers and takers.
Yeah, one of the things that we were talking about when I said that we need people in our life in what's called a relationship to be able to either create opportunities for us to know ourselves. So I can't know myself to be a compassionate person if I don't have someone to feel sorry for. I can't know myself to be a forgiving human being if I don't have someone in my life that has taken advantage of me or wronged me in a way that gave me an opportunity to offer forgiveness. So that's the purpose of a relationship, is to have an opportunity to figure out who I want to be based on who I'm choosing to be in each new moment. And as we were talking about that before the break, I immediately thought, and I don't know why, but I thought of our board op, Andrew Delgado, at the moments that you are vulnerable on this show. And we probably have thousands of clips of, videos where he hands you a tissue box at the moment that you become vulnerable and you start tearing up. And it's a great example of a relationship where he has somebody to recognize that in a moment where you're struggling with something, and then he's offering you it's like a token of his sympathy. And it painted a beautiful picture of somebody that when you see somebody struggling and you go to reach out to help them or put a hand out to pull them up, or if they fail, you're going to run over there to pick them up. Those are opportunities that we have in relationships to be able to know myself as a giver, as a contributor, as somebody that cares for my community or cares for people that I love.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me a little bit too of going back to your story earlier about having a mentor who gave you a gift and you kind of brushed it off and said, thanks, but I don't need this. Like, it was kind of like if someone were to like even Andrew giving me a tissue and I'm over here crying, obviously I need a tissue, but say, no, I don't need this. It's like, you might not need it, but like take it.
And
like,
but I wasn't, and it's funny because I wasn't doing it from a mean place. I was doing it because when I was younger, I was always taught to help other people and not to be needy. So coming from a place of not wanting to like put him, like, it's like, and people, you guys know what I'm talking about. If you have a hard time accepting gifts, it's probably because you grew up not receiving them or thinking that either you're not worthy enough to have them, or you just grew up always on the other side of the gift giving realm, and you're always the one that was contributing. So to receive something, it's hard for some people to receive. So for me, when I was in my 20s, when he was giving that to me, it was like, no, it's like, in other words, like, it's okay. That's what I was telling him. I was like, no, it's okay. And that's when he just blew it out of proportion, but I'm glad he did, because it really woke me up and realized, and it put me into the question, am I a taker? And then it opened up this whole new world of realizing that I can be a taker if I'm not allowing myself to receive something that somebody is giving me unconditionally. So that reminds me of the time when you walk into your grandma's house and she's got these cookies and she goes, honey, come eat some cookies. And you're like, no, it's okay, Grandma. I'm good on the cookies for today. Maybe tomorrow. And she's like, no, come sit down. And she's excited to share the cookies that she baked for you. Now, in that moment, how do you become a taker and say, no, I'm not going to take your cookies? In that moment, you suck it up and you sit down and you take a bite and you tell her how amazing they are, because you're a giver and you're allowing yourself to receive that gift that she worked so hard and that she was proud of creating for you.
Yeah, and the cookie example, I've already come to grips with. If I'm going over there, I know I'm going over there and I'm going to eat. Like, but it's I hadn't really considered it that if someone were to not just give me a gift, but try to pay for my dinner or try to do something for me, open doors. Like sometimes, like if I'm mad at someone and they'll like open the door for me because they're trying to like get me to laugh or like not be mad at them anymore, I'm like, I can open the door myself. Like, and I know that I'm just doing it in my stubbornness, but also some people really are genuinely trying to also give because they know that they take a lot from me, or they know that they receive a lot from me that they want to pay it forward or pay it back. And sometimes I don't give them the opportunity to do that. A lot of it because maybe I'm not even going to lie. Yeah, maybe it is because I'm not used to like either getting them gifts back or I don't really need it. But also I'm going to tell myself I'm a little bit stubborn where I don't want to owe people. You know, and I don't know if you identify with that, but I found that a lot of times where if I'm trusting or I'm trustworthy and I trust that you're doing this unconditionally and you don't expect anything back, and then later you expect something back and you bring up, hey, I did this for you, so you need to do this for me now. I don't like.
Let's talk about that for a minute. I'm glad you brought that up because it sounds like to me when you say I don't want to owe somebody, it sounds like to me when you hear or when you think of the word owe somebody, you see it as a negative or a burden or a responsibility or some this heaviness to it. Rather than choosing to see it as a gift, rather than choosing to see it as it's your honor to contribute, it's your honor to pay it back. What if you were able to change the meaning of owing somebody? Or deciding that there is no owing, there's just an opportunity that you needed some support or somebody offered you something and you took it, and you just know that in your heart that whenever they need something, it's gonna be bestowed in honor for you to support them when they need it. I'm just opening up a possibility for you to change the perception around the word owing somebody. What does that mean to you?
Well, I feel like I'm in a lot of relationships that there's a lot of back and forth. I don't keep track. They don't keep track. It's kind of just back and forth, back and forth.
Right. But occasionally you must have had somebody that came to you and goes, hey, remember that one time? And that one person might have ruined it for everyone else.
That one person did ruin it for everybody else. I'm going to just say, because here's why. I'm the kind of person that if I go out to get frozen yogurt with a friend, I'll pay for it. And then next time they just already know and they pay for me. You know, it's kind of like you go back and forth. There's never, hey, you owe me $4 for that frozen yogurt. Like, I'm just not necessarily in relationships that are like that. I don't know how. I didn't pick it to be like that. I just think that that's how my group of friends is. But if one friend were to say, hey, remember I did that one thing for you 5 years ago and you never paid me back since then. Like after that, I paid for the next thing and then you paid for the next thing and whatever. And so, but that one thing is missing. That's a big turn off for me. I'm like, you know what? This friendship is not really worth it.
Yeah, and you probably say to yourself, this is why I don't let people do things for me. And then you just created evidence that you don't want to receive gifts from people because then you're going to have to owe, or someone's going to come around the corner tomorrow and go, hey, remember what I did? Now I need from you. And so maybe the worry or the fear is that everyone at once is all going to come to you when you're working on something that's very important, and they're all going to bombard you at one day with all these requests. And while you were sharing that, I have to, take responsibility and maybe acknowledge that I've probably done that a couple of times to you as well, maybe recently in the last, couple years, of maybe saying something to you in the lines of, all right, well, next time when you ask me, I'm not going to do it. And, and that's in that unconscious part of me where you get so fixated on needing some support or running out of other people that you can't call on. And it's a nasty place to come from to throw that dagger at people. And if I have ever done that, where I've helped create more evidence for you to not be a giver, I apologize, and I'm sorry. That's the part of me or us that we're not aware of, realizing that does a lot of damage, and it could turn you off from realizing that it can be an honor to help people and give, and it should be that free flow of, I'm not
keeping score.
I'm not keeping record.
Keeping score
Yeah,
is
exactly.
like a really big, I guess, turn off for me
Yeah.
in any type of relationship where I just.
But you gotta remember.
But that's where the owing has a negative
Yeah.
connotation, because someone is keeping score unconsciously where I don't do that in my head. That's not
right,
how
but
I think.
but you're the one that decided that it's an owing,
right.
rather than just another opportunity for me to contribute back. And again, I know it's wordplay, but sometimes wordplay causes a shift in your perspective such that it empowers you rather than disempowers you. Wordplay is important, and a lot of times I'll take words and I'll reshuffle them such that it makes sense to me, where I feel empowered rather than being disempowered.
Yeah, and there are in some cases where that does happen. The keeping score does come up, and as much as I want to just end that relationship or scream, I have to really say, you know what, this person means a lot to me, and I'm going to chalk this up as they were uncomfortable, or they didn't want to be caught feeling like they owed me something, so that was their defense. So I sometimes give people that benefit, and then sometimes I go into my reaction where I'm like, well, I'm not gonna play this game, so I just don't, and I take myself out.
Let me ask you this question: what do you think the average teenager or child, when they think of a relationship with their parents, how do you think they visualize their relationship with their parents? What does it look like for them? If you can paint that picture for the common mom or dad that's at home wondering how their child perceives them in their relationship with each other, what does it look like?
I definitely think children have expectations of their parents. I think out of everybody in the whole world, you expect more from your parents than anybody else.
So then from the child's perspective, they're looking at their parents in the relationship. They have expectations.
Mm-hmm.
What would some of those expectations be?
Being taken care of.
So I expect you, mom and dad, to take care of me.
I expect you to feed me, to clothe me, take me to school, pick me up from practice.
And you're supposed to do that. Because why? Because you had me?
Yeah.
Because
you brought me here.
You brought me into this world. And hey, moms and dads, this is the way the millennials are thinking.
Yeah.
And now the next Generation Z, I think they're calling the I generation.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. So they're basically saying, hey, you owe me these bare necessities because you had me. So there's an expectation in that relationship.
Yeah, there's also the expectation that you're supposed to support me in everything I do,
so
even if it's wrong.
All my desires, all my dreams, everything that I want to try, you at least owe me. And I talk about this in my book a lot of times too, is you at least owe them the openness and the willingness to say, oh, that's awesome, honey, even if you don't think they can do it. Even if it's that choice is going to...
Even if your kid is 20 years old and has a history of messing up every single thing they've done, even if your kid's 40 and they've messed up 5 business ideas and you've lost $50,000, you still have to support them at the next one. That's like just how we think.
Yeah, it's just so your children are expecting, they're in the relationship with expectations that you owe them some things. So it's to take care of them, but you also owe them to support them in whatever things that they want to take on.
Yeah, and I know that I know that's not necessarily true. Not all kids are like that. Most of them are, and I know that they know in the back of their mind, unconsciously, they know, that that's not possible. That parents aren't always like that, but you still expect it.
Now, with that being said, then the parents also now have expectations as well. What do you think the parents' expectations are?
I think parents, in exchange for giving you food and clothing.
It's funny how you say that, right?
Yeah,
in exchange for...
Because I expect food, clothing, and, maybe like a little bit of money to hang out with my friends. Because I expect that, now you expect me to do chores. You expect me to take care of my little sister. You expect me,
get good grades in school.
Yeah, right? There's an exchange there of expectations.
Now, in this relationship of expectations, when neither one are holding up their end of the bargain, is where now we have the drama. Now we have the I'm upset at you and you're upset at me. Before you know it, we're going back and forth. And there's a rift in the relationship because of this thing called expectations in our relationships. And that can creep up in our relationships unconsciously, not even aware what's going on until somebody points it out on a radio show that you go, oh my God, I never realized that. However, if you go back to deciding what a healthy relationships look like to me, And when I figure out what they look like to me, then it's my job to sit my son and daughter down and have open discussions with each other about what relationships mean to each other, such that we come to an agreement that a healthy relationship looks like X, healthy relationship looks like Y, and a healthy relationship looks like Z. It doesn't look like all the other letters sporadically cherry picked out of the alphabet because it's going to fit me at this moment.
Well, what's cool about sitting down and deciding that is that later, when you're not doing those things, you have someone to hold you accountable. So if you say, okay, I'm not going to expect you to do chores, I'm just going to ask you to do it. So if this is from the parent and the kid says, okay, I'm not gonna expect you to take me to school every day, but I'm gonna ask you if you could because I don't want to walk. Okay, let's say they decide that they're gonna have requests of each other. Later down the line, when the kid has gone 5 weeks without being dropped off at school and is walking, now he feels like, well, I'm not going to do these chores then because we had an agreement and you're not holding up your end, so I'm not going to hold up mine. And then that's when the parent, or vice versa, parent comes in and says, well, you're not doing your thing, so I'm not doing mine. And then, like you said, all the drama comes out. But if you do have that conversation, at least you can hold them accountable. Like, how cool if your kid said, you know what, Mom, you haven't dropped me off at school for 5 weeks, and I've been doing my chores for 5 weeks, so we need to talk. But they're not going to do that because they're your kid.
And they don't know how to articulate themselves like that yet.
Right. So as the parent, in that situation, who's responsible for both responsibilities falling off?
Well, if you're going to ask me, responsibility is always going to fall on the parent. It's always the parent's responsibility from the perspective of, I chose to have these kids. I have to own 100% accountability for all of it. And I got to figure out how to not only educate myself or teach myself how to master my own relationships with myself first, then with my family members. But I also got to, as I'm learning that, I got to learn how to teach that to my kids. And we can learn together, which is cool. I don't have to know all the answers, but at least I have to be mindful enough to go, all right, I don't know this yet, and we haven't learned how to get along. Let's sit down and let's talk about it. Let's have this be a work in progress. Let's have our relationship be something that we intentionally and mindfully are putting effort into it every day, such that when you're now a teenager, we have some solid foundation and healthy boundaries, and we're really supporting each other in a powerful way.
Yeah, it's like really interesting that the groundwork really does have, for your relationship has to be laid before you get into the teen years, because that really influences a lot of the, I guess, when the attitude and the emotions and the hormones and everything come out in your teenage years. It's kind of like they go back to the way that you treated them when they were a kid. They don't really, I don't want to say they don't have the capacity or whatever, but in those ages, like that weird age, you as a teenager, you're not thinking about all the stuff your parents are doing for you, like right now, if that makes sense. You kind of
no, because you expect it, right?
Well, yeah, and you.
So when your mom's going, man, I take you to soccer practice and I run you here and there,
and you go, yeah, because that's your job.
Well, yeah, because you're saying, because I expect this from you because you had me, and so now the parents are getting bombarded with these smart kids that are growing up in the world now going, hey, I didn't ask to be born. You're the one that decided to have me. So now they're putting that challenge onto their parents, and they're holding them accountable to that, which is not healthy either. That's not a powerful place to come from. But that's what's happening.
And even though it's not a powerful place to come from, a little bit of it has truth. But because it's your kid who has an attitude or has, you're just teen deaf,
Yeah. Now even if I had a teen that was complaining about their parents and was asking me, like, Alex, is it not true that my mom's responsible for those things? I would have to agree with them. However, I would say, I agree with you, but the way you're going about it is not going to be beneficial for you. You're not doing it in an effective way. The way that you're saying it to her, and the way that you're speaking down at her, and the way that you're huffing and puffing about it is not going to get you to be on the same page and create a win-win. So whether I agree with you or not, it's not the point. The point is how do I communicate in an effective way that I enroll my mom or dad to see it like that, and it says, okay, I agree with you. Now let's figure out how to support each other and create a give and take, or let's call it a give and receive, right? Because we talked about that distinction, and so that we can kind of get on the same page and move forward with each other.
We had to take a quick break.
Another one?
Yeah. But stay tuned for more of The Inspirational Parent right here on your hometown station, KHTS.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top-quality musicals and plays. Located in Old Town Newhall, the CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go to canyontheater.org.
There are times when nothing else will do because you know exactly what you want. You want the Alamo, the taste of true Mexican cooking at its best. At Alamo, you're treated to a taste that is truly Mexican with an atmosphere to match. Enjoy a Cadillac margarita, try a mucho burrito, or sizzling fajitas. Voted the best Mexican food in the SCV and a favorite of former supervisor Mike Antonovich. Alamo Rotisserie in Granary Square, serving Santa Clarita for over 30 years.
In Santa Clarita, we always find a way to be generous to the community. We give time, money, muscle, ideas, whatever we can, when we can. But without careful planning, such generosity can quickly drain the bank.
At Thrivent Financial, Jeff and Melanie Meyer do more than help you manage your finances. They help you plan for a generous lifestyle so you have enough for yourself and enough to share. Take the first step toward a generous financial future. Call Jeff and Melanie Meyer at 661-799-0230. That's 799-0230.
I listen to it all day, every day.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Inspirational Parent right here on your hometown station, KHTS. Today we have been talking about relationships, so if you missed any of it, you can find our podcast online at hometownstation.com. Before we have to leave and end the show for a whole week, Dad, I want to talk about... Don't look at me like that. I want to talk about your teen training that you have coming up this weekend, November 11th and 12th. It's at SCVI Charter School in Castaic, correct?
It is.
And it's Saturday, Sunday, all day, both days. I'm going to say 9 o'clock to, this is guessing off of past years, 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock the first day.
10 to 5.
And 10 to 4 on Saturday.
4:30,
Sunday.
and we do a graduation at 4:30. But 10 to 5 on both days.
I tried.
You did pretty good.
All right, so what can we expect if I'm on the verge of signing my son or daughter up, but I'm not 100% sure? What's going to hook me? What's going to get me there?
What's going to get you there is to remember that, or learn for the very first time, that I've been doing these transformational trainings for teenagers for over 20 years. Every training is very powerful, cathartic, empowering process where your kids realize for themselves, not because I do anything to them or for them, other than create this safe, loving space for them to challenge themselves and to really self-examine some of their own self-limiting beliefs and have these powerful breakthroughs in the training room, to discover that they're way more powerful than they think they are. You got to remember, as human beings, we collect limiting beliefs since we're little, that we're not good enough, not smart enough, and those insecurities get in the way of us reaching our full potential. And it also sabotages relationships. It's the things that we've been talking about every show, is all those little things, little quirky stuff that we do of not accepting gifts and hearing things all as a dig all the time. And we got all these things that really sabotage us, and it's because we're not conscious, we're not aware, and we haven't really worked on ourselves to a certain degree. We go to school and we learn about math and about science, and we learn about all these things about specific things to help us be successful intellectually, but we're not learning about emotional intelligence. We're not learning about ourselves. We're not learning how to master ourselves, master our emotions. We're not learning how to take responsibility and be accountable for all of our choices, and really look from the power play in our lives.
Yeah, I want to kind of just share one experience of my very first teen training when I was 13, if that's okay. So For me, one of the things that I remember very vividly was doing a specific exercise where we had to convince our team members that we were something. So if it was saying I'm powerful or I'm inspirational or I'm happy or whatever it is, whatever word you decided to use to explain them, and you had to convince them. And in order to convince them, you had to just believe it. You had to scream it from the top of your lungs. And I did not want to do it. I did not. I was like shaking. Like I was so scared to just stand up in front of my group that I had spent all weekend with, and we were like already best friends, and I still didn't want to do it. And I realized that even if I was taken out of that situation and I was with the most comfortable people in the world, like my family, I still would not stand on top of my chair and yell at the top of my lungs how amazing I am. I just couldn't do it. So there was someone in my group that would not. What the thing is you have to sit, and then when you believe them, you can stand up and that person can move on. I had one person in my group that really would not stand up for me. Like all of them kind of just gave up, and they were like, all right, like I'm just going to let her go. Even the coach in my group. But this one kid who was probably maybe 2 years older than me, 15 or so, would not stand for me until I screamed at the top of my lungs, until I believed it, until I started crying. I broke down, started crying because I was so uncomfortable. But I was more uncomfortable with the fact that I couldn't do it, or that I believed I couldn't do it, than actually just doing it. So it really took that one kid. Like I said, it wasn't even my coach in the group. It was another participant in the training to really open my eyes and realize, that's not me. That's not who I am. I'm not quite a shy person, but I just didn't want to scream at the top of my lungs and embarrass myself. And that's where all the emotion came from, and the breakthrough came from, where I realized no one was here to judge me. They were probably judging me more for not doing it than just doing it anyway.
Now, this is how we take that scenario in training mode and we transfer that into real life. So what happened was your ego came and it popped up and it said, you know what, we're not going to do this. We're not going to look silly, look stupid, make a fool out of ourselves. We're going to compose ourselves, because that's what we've been doing for such a long time. And in the training room, what we're really doing is we're shedding our ego a little bit at a time, all of us, to the point where we start to shed and peel away this fearful ego that has been running us for so long, that we finally get a glimpse of our true selves. We finally get a glimpse of our spirit. And when we experience that for the very first time, most of us are moved to tears. And it does something to us. And what you had was a very powerful breakthrough of realizing the struggle between the inner self, your spirit, and your ego. And when you finally decided to push the ego aside and say, shut up, sit down, you're not going to tell me how to live my life anymore. You're not going to run me by fear, and I'm going to let myself come out, and I'm going to choose to fully express myself in that moment, because that kid stood for you. It took you over the top. You broke down. You had a very powerful cry, and it was a very liberating experience for you, and you'll never forget that experience, and you take that champion into your life with you, even today.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about it, you got to put your kid in.
If we haven't scared you off already.
So that's all the time we have for today. But if you want to sign up, call my dad, 661-505-5021.
That's right.
Ooh, okay. And if not, you can find him alexurbina.com and sign up on the website. So we hope to see your kids there on Saturday. Thanks so much for joining us today on The Inspirational Parent right here on your hometown station, KHTS.